Hello and welcome to another week's episode of OakieVision, another OakieVision Senior Spotlight. My name is Ryan Barnett, Sports Information Director here at Menlo College. And my guest this week is a recent Menlo College graduate and member of the Menlo College women's wrestling team, Taryn Ichimura. Thank you so much for joining us, Taryn.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you here this week. And let's dive right on into the interview. So last week, for those of our fans who watch OakieVision religiously, we interviewed your teammate, Angela Peralta, and she shared a little bit about her story on how she came to Menlo and was able to connect with Coach Barang during her high school career due to his connections with Hawaii. Was it a similar situation with you in your connection with Coach Barang, or maybe did you have a different path for coming to Menlo and maybe you had other schools that you were considering? What really helped you decide to come to Menlo College? Was it Coach Barang with that Hawaii connection or maybe something different?
Yeah, so I had a very similar kind of experience. So, um, as she mentioned, he does come to our state championship every year to, recruit and um, do all of that. So I think I don't specifically remember like the initial contact, but I do recall like speaking to him at the tournament, and like I even went to go visit the school after somewhere between my junior and senior year of high school. Um, and yeah, so for me, I knew I wanted to stay like relatively close to home. And at the time, Menlo was the only school in California that had, a women's program. So for me, it was a matter of like determining whether I wanted to wrestle in college or not. And I knew like if I did, I was going to do it at Menlo. So yeah, and the Hoyt connection definitely helped as well. I think it always, makes it a little easier to transition into like being away from home when there's like familiar faces and people.
Of course, and that that definitely it seems to be a similar experience for many student athletes at Menlo College and women's wrestlers specifically. Of course, we're grateful that you chose to come to Menlo and to wrestle here for the 3 years that you did. Uh, Now, of course, also you had, I believe, three other student athletes who came into Menlo, three other wrestlers who came into Menlo with you from the state of Hawaii. Wrestlers like Angela, who we mentioned earlier, and Lainey Passion. Were you familiar with these other new, I guess, sort of high school opponents turned teammates coming to Menlo, and did that help make the decision easier to come as well? Maybe a familiarity with these new teammates, or maybe they were old teammates in the past as well.
Yeah, so um, we did have a lot of Hawaii girls sign that year, and um, I knew Lainey because we traveled together one summer for Fargo Nationals. Um, but Angela, I didn't really know, which is kind of funny because we're good friends now. But we just kind of knew of each other, but nothing more, beyond that. But it was actually the third girl that signed, Michaela. She was a good friend of mine, and we knew each other for a while because we grew up doing judo together. So like our families know each other, and so that definitely helped too, because I knew like like I had a familiar face and like a friend that I could turn to if anything got like I got homesick or anything like that.
Of
So
course, yeah,
yeah.
and coming from Hawaii, of course, Menlo being having the Hawaii connection and being relatively close to Hawaii, but it's still a long distance. So it's of course always great to have a friend like that, someone you knew, who you were coming to school with. Now let's talk a little bit about your wrestling career at Menlo College. You didn't get a chance to wrestle during your freshman year, but then came out in your sophomore year and came out in a big way. I believe you were the most utilized wrestler on the roster. In your sophomore year, you wrestled 36 times, you won 20 bouts, earned All-American status. And of course, this was the year that Menlo went on to win their first two national titles, not just in program history, but in school history. So what does it mean to you that you were a part of that big history-making team, and not just a part of it, but played such a major role getting to wrestle so much that year in that historic year?
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, I think in that, like, sometimes I forget, like, that, like, how big of a thing it was. Like, sometimes I'm just like, oh, we just won a national title. But um, a lot of hard work and like blood, sweat, and tears went into that. And from everyone on the team, um, from the coaches all the way down to like all the athletes. Um, so I guess I want to thank the coaches for like taking me and like, you know, believing in me and allowing me to go to all these tournaments and wrestle all these matches, and especially at nationals. It means a lot that I was able to contribute to the team's win in the, however I could. Um, but yeah, like it was a really meaningful experience that I think I'll like carry with me through like the rest of my life.
Now, follow-up question, wrestling that many times throughout a season and then getting to nationals and being able to compete, do you think that you would have benefited, or you benefited a lot from wrestling that much from the experience, or do you think maybe if you had taken a few bouts off, you would have been less tired? Because you see that it seems to be a fine line in the sport of wrestling how much you wrestle some of your top athletes between duels and tournaments throughout the season, and when wrestlers are utilized where. What are your preferences? Would you rather wrestle more, or maybe wrestle a few times and stay well rested for the big postseason tournaments like conference and nationals?
Yeah, there definitely is a balance, and I think because I didn't wrestle my freshman year, I was, like excited to be on the mat, and I was, all for wrestling whatever matches I could get because I felt like I needed to kind of like make up for that, but that year off. But I think it was a lot of matches. I definitely remember that, and I definitely remember like my body kind of going through it. But in the end, like it was all just experiences, and the more opportunities I could get, like I was willing to take them. So
Of course, and shout out to the Menlo College sports performance and sports medicine staff for making sure you stayed healthy through all of that as well. I'm sure that I've never wrestled, but I'm sure watching the sport and being a student of the sport over these past 4 or 5 years that I've been around at Menlo College, that takes a toll on your body. Now, in 2020, you helped the Oaks to another historic first. It was the first year that the Cascade Collegiate Conference held a women's college wrestling conference tournament, and Menlo dominated throughout the tournament and was able to secure their first Cascade Conference title in the first year of its existence. Now, of course, the pandemic canceled nationals that year, but coming out of that season and that conference tournament performance, do you think the Oaks were prepped and ready to go to defend your national title that season, coming out of the conference tournament?
I definitely do think so. I will always, put like all of my trust in like the team and everything like that. So I know they worked hard, and I've seen them, really want to, like, everybody on the team really want to like do well and do what they can for the team. So I do think we would have done really well if, circumstances are different. Um, but even though like it did get canceled, I think we did get most of the season, and our team was able to accomplish a lot as well. So like you said, the conference title and also that national duels
Oh
title.
yeah,
So
the
yeah.
multi-divisional dual national title as well. Really incredible to see you guys win three different national titles in that such a short span too. I mean, because the
Mhm.
national dual tournament was held midway through your guys' season, so really impressive to see you guys put on a performance there. And of course, it's a shame that you guys didn't get to compete in nationals, but just like you said, the whole school is behind this team and knows how incredible you all have been throughout uh, really the existence of the program over the past 20 years or so. Uh, Now, on top of your excellence on the mats, you've shown great excellence in the classroom, boasting one of the highest grade point averages on the women's wrestling team in Menlo's renowned accounting program. How have you been able to balance sort of the classwork and the student athlete work? Of course, not just practice, but you have lifting, you have treatment to take care of, and then of course classes. You lived on campus coming from Hawaii, which I'm sure was a transition as well. Were you always sort of able to balance and juggle all this maybe through your competition years in high school, or was it something that you had to learn and adapt to in college?
Um, I think in high school, I definitely like put a more emphasis on the athlete aspect of student athlete. Um, Not to say like I didn't try in school, but like I think I could have done better. So going to college, I think I really wanted to like balance that out a little more and just like prioritize like, what I wanted to get done in my short time at Menlo. So, it definitely was difficult at times. Like, college academics isn't, you know, just like a walk through the park or anything like that. So, but I think I had a good support system of like friends and also like faculty on staff, like on campus, whether it's like on the athletic side or the academic side that, helped me, and also like a lot of resources on campus to help me, stay motivated or organized as well. So,
Of course, but it's extremely impressive as we mentioned, what you were able to do both in the classroom and on the mats. I mean, I went through that accounting program at Menlo when I was a student, and it's no joke. So hats off to you, definitely. I think you're being a little modest there, but absolutely great work there. Now, of course, we talked about your successes in school. What are your plans now that you have graduated? What are the plans for Taryn in the future?
so through the internship program, I was able to, or I was offered a full time position after graduation. So, the plan is to move up to California and start working at KPMG. So,
Excellent, excellent. Congratulations. Is that out of the Silicon Valley practice or the San Francisco practice?
the Silicon Valley one. Yeah.
Excellent. And then hopefully we'll get to see you out at some of the duels and tournaments at Menlo
Yeah.
in the winter. So that's great. Congratulations. Last question for you. Uh, we have another huge women's wrestling recruiting class coming in from all over California, the Pacific Northwest, and of course Hawaii, brought on by Coach Barang. So, what are some words of wisdom you have to pass on to the new incoming Oaks here for the, I guess, the entering class of 2021?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I would just say like take advantage of every opportunity that you're given. The 4 years will fly by so fast, and you never know when, obviously, like when I was a freshman, I never thought like COVID would be a thing, and, all the challenges that came along with that. So, you want to like take advantage of every opportunity when they come because nothing's like guaranteed. And also, like, just to like step outside of your comfort zone and do things like off the mat as well, like around campus, like do a student body leadership position or go to like club events that you wouldn't typically go to, or just like do things that like push yourself to like grow and become a better person as well. So,
Absolutely. Wise words indeed from a wise person who just lived it. So, for those of you new incoming Oaks watching, definitely take those words of advice. Taryn, I want to thank you for joining us this week on OakieVision.
yeah, thank you. This is fun.
Oh, we had a great time interviewing you. So thanks for stopping by. And fans, stay tuned as we keep your finger on the pulse of everything going on here at Menlo College Athletics here at OakieVision. See you next week.